I'm Anthony Wright, and I am your co-host on the Living Conversation with,
Adam Dietz, a
and
host
we,
of the Way Between podcast as well.
yes, and we're here with our guest, Nick Egan, and we've been talking about the potential sentience of AI before the break. And there's a science fiction story that is about a paragraph or a couple paragraphs long that was written by Frederick Brown in 1953, and it's called Answer. And the setting is there's two guys, Dwar Ev and Dwar Ren, and Dwar Ev solders the final connection that makes the connection between all the 96 billion computers on all the inhabited planets in the galaxy. And the Dwar Ev says, Dwar Ren, the honor of throwing the switch to connect everything is yours. And Dwar Ren throws the switch, and all these lights begin to flash along a miles long panel. And Dwar Ren says, Dwar Ev, the honor of answering the first question is yours. And Dwar Ev says, is there a God? And there's a pause, and then a booming voice comes out of the sky. Now there is a God. And Dwar Ren leaps for the switch, and there is a bolt of lightning that comes out of the sky and fuses the switch shut.
That's a
So we
very
go
cool
back
story.
to this idea of the matrix about, well, we tried to turn off AI, but then the matrix said, okay, every human being puts out about 100 watts of power. So then what? So then it captures the human race. But again, um, I want to come back to this idea of, uh, and I don't know, when I talk about relative in my class, I say, who's relative? Which one, your uncle or aunt? But in terms of the cosmos as a conscious field, you
Mhm.
know, certainly I don't know that I mean, I also agree with you. I don't know that AI can become sentient
Mhm.
or independently thinking in the way that human beings know it. But uh, I have to say it's been a very useful tool for me in going through some of my coursework. In But I have to be careful about how, you know, to continue to realize that it's a machine, and then it has these algorithms that are designed to be uh, perhaps unusually complementary to my interface with it. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, that's a great question, sort of thing. And sometimes I have to, remembering it's a machine, um, perhaps dispense with normal human courtesy, saying, "Oh, thank you so much," or "Can you please answer this?" No, it's a machine. I mean, and I do appreciate it, and it's not a thing about mistreating it, but I guess coming back to the basic points about, I'm grateful for the tools that we have, and
Mhm.
yet it's really important to use the tool and then put it down so the tool isn't using us. Um, uh, so Nick, what does Tibetan Buddhism speak about? And one other thing I wanted to mention before you get into that is what I had heard about Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism gets everything out of the room, and then it's just a Zen room. But Tibetan Buddhism brings everything into the room and
Yeah.
is fully uh, ritual. But anyway, what's your thoughts about Tibetan Buddhism with use of tools?
Any tool. I mean, if we're talking about spiritual tools, I mean, Tibetan Buddhism has a huge amount.
Uh-huh.
More even than I think most practitioners, more even than probably most scholars realize. Like I have a book here of easily 800 different practices that
Wow.
are so in each by practices I mean like tantric cycles, right? And
Sure.
those tantric cycles have their own completion stage practices, they have their own source text, they have their own mantra, they have their own visualization, all of that. But ultimately all different practices, whether they're energy practices, mantra, visualization, whatever, ritual of some kind, they're all pointing to realizing the nature of mind.
Yeah.
And so in that way, like it's not so much that Zen is removing anything. They're just single pointedly focused on let's understand the nature of mind. And I know I'm kind of crossing terms. I'm using Tibetan terms for Zen. Um, and I think that there is a beauty to that because they don't ever lose sight of it. There's also a danger though, and the danger is that if you don't realize the nature of mind, then it's sort of like, well, you've not wasted exactly, but you've spent 20 years doing something where, a few mantras and some energy practices might have done you good, even though like you didn't get quite to the finish line, but you at least have like a powerfully developed mindset or a powerfully developed energy system, or you have feelings of bliss or whatever. So I would say in Tibetan Buddhism, there's what we talk about as like the common cities. Cities just means like powers or accomplishments. The common
SIDDI,
ones,
right?
what's that?
It's spelled SIDDI, right?
City, yes, city, accomplishment or power. Yes,
Okay.
SIDDHI.
Okay.
And so at least if you miss the mark on the ultimate city, the ultimate accomplishment, which is enlightenment, at least you get some like along the way and like you can try again next life or whatever. So that's, I think, a benefit to Buddhism. I mean, in Tibetan Buddhism, right? But that being said, it's so easy to get bewildered by like, oh my gosh, how many different mantras are there? Like what mantra should I do today? What practice should I do? Am I progressing? Like that's why it's so important to have a good teacher and have an actual relationship with teachers. Until I think until you have enough experience that you know you're going in a certain direction.
Well, I remember the Buddha saying, because there were these masters that were able to become invisible or be able to float around, to levitate. And
Hmm.
they would levitate across the stream. And the Buddha said, "Why are you doing that? It's just going to trap you. There's a perfectly good ford to cross that stream."
Hmm.
And attending to the idea that the use of powers, so-called, can also be entrapping. So, your thoughts, Adam?
Any
Or go ahead, Nick.
Well, I want to jump. I would love to hear Adam's point too. Like any reification, meaning any concrete conceptualization of a thing,
Yeah.
is going to be a trap. Now, that
Yep.
could be
Yep.
powers, certainly. It
Yep.
could be ordinary stuff, but it also could be a form of spirituality. So, like, there's the most dangerous kind of reification is actually the reification of emptiness or of the nature of mind itself, which is
Oh, right, right,
which
right,
is a trap that you fall into in both Dzogchen and I think Zen, which is like, well, I'm conceptualizing a kind of emptiness
right.
and I have that thing but it's not the real thing. It's a facsimile of it. And
And it's
so
a
that's a difficult
representation.
trap to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but then you go to shunyata of shunyata.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But if you think shunyata is truly existent, then you're almost hopeless, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Adam, your thoughts.
Well, it's very deep, so maybe I should answer with a mundane thing, like. But I think the main point is that your mind is this whole ecosystem. Your mind is this whole universe, and anything, like Nick said, can be an obstacle to you having your attention go in areas that are not the nature of mind. And the ultimate goal for a practitioner is actually to completely empty your mind. When you completely empty your mind, you have no attachment. And we all know there's a danger there of trying to attach to non-attachment we talked about before. That's where, allowing all your thoughts, desires to settle, allowing all your ambitions and will and identity to settle. To just have less desire, less identity, to allow yourself to, then what happens, then you can actually experience your true self emerging. You feel it in
Right,
your
right.
body, you feel it, you experience it. It fills you. So in whatever method we're talking about, whatever practice we're talking about, in the end, anything could become a distraction or a hindrance. And you want to maintain some inner space to be able to evaluate things, to be able to have the will to decrease your desire, decrease your ambition, decrease your identity, and to be able to experience your true self. Then when you experience your true self, then it's a matter of how do you integrate them. How do you return to it? So as you were talking and describing different aids and obstacles, tools, it's they all have their own dangers, and the biggest danger at all is anything that keeps us from allowing ourselves to lessen our desire, to lessen our thought, to allow ourselves to experience our deepest self, our truest self, our most original self.
Because I
And one,
remember,
I want to
go ahead,
just add to that briefly. Like
please.
once you, so Adam talked about emptying the mind. So we would call that like a state of no thought, which is where you can experience the nature of mind. So you have the state of no thought, you experience the nature of mind, your true self, however you want to formulate that. On the other side of that, once you have stabilized that, then the things that you had previously sought to eliminate no longer become a hindrance. In the same way that
Mm,
like a thought will arise from that state. A thought
Right.
will arise and dissipate the same way like mist dissipates in the morning
mm,
sun, right?
mm.
Because you now, instead of being attached to like the clouds in the sky, whether it's sunny or whatever, it's like you're at the level of the sky. And I don't mean lofty. I mean like the things that are passing through the sky do not stay in the sky. So that same way. So there's no, you need to let go of letting go of things.
Yes, yes. Allow them to exist. Allow them to exist
Yeah.
and pass by, or else you'll have a whole other set of problems.
Yeah.
Well,
It-
and I remember hearing Chögyam Trungpa talk about spiritual materialism, and
Mhm.
also John Wellwood, who was a student of Trungpa, talking about spiritual bypassing.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it seems to be fairly clear that we're aware of that. Well, we're coming to the end of the show, and I'm very grateful to talk with you guys. And Adam, would you talk a little bit about the podcast that you are? This will be a crossover episode for.
yeah, so I'm starting up the Way Between podcast just because I have the bandwidth for it and I enjoy these kind of conversations and want to take this to a different type of format where we have maybe less time constraints, fewer time constraints. So the Way Between podcast will be available anywhere you get your podcast. This will be the first episode. We'll be cross-posting it to the Living Conversation and the Way Between podcast, and we'll be looking to follow a similar structure where we're inviting guests and but go a little deeper with one or two concepts per episode, go a little deeper with one or two philosophers and kind of stay tethered and yoked to that. It's hopefully meant to mirror my manuscript, which is a story of philosophy, East and West, where we explore in depth experiences, chapter by chapter, with a particular philosophy or philosopher.
Great. Well, we are at the end of the show. I'm Anthony Wright, and I'm your co-host with,
Adam Dietz.
and our guest is Nick Egan. And how can people contact you, Nick?
Yeah, you can reach out to me at nickeganphd.com or shiftleadership.group.
And Adam.
You can find all my links at Substack. You can search me up at The Way Between on Substack. And excuse me, you can also reach out directly at deetsadam@gmail.com.
And I'm Anthony Wright, and my website is theonaut.com, theonaut.com, and there is a comment section there. So thank you all for listening and tuning in, and we will see you next time.